Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam satu Malaysia. This presentation is mainly for International Conference on Trends in Technology, Business, Education and Social Research, ICTTBESR 2020. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Norshahniza Sahari from UiTM Johor, and my field is in retailing and also marketing. And the topic today is on visual merchandising and exploratory study of hypermarket retailers and fast-moving consumer goods manufacturers. This is the presentation outlines. So we start with introduction, background of the study, problem statement, objectives of the study, literature review, research methodology, findings, conclusion, and limitation of the study. No doubt, retail sector contributed significantly to the Malaysian economic of growth. Retailers like hypermarkets are facing intense competition from various large store retailers, example from Giant, Midin, Tesco, TF, and so on. They also receive competition from product manufacturers. And with the similarities of product or merchandises in the store, retailers need to differentiate themselves from other competitors. How they will do the differentiation? They will use visual merchandising to match the consumer's expectation and to gain competitive advantage. Hypermarket retailers and product manufacturers attempt to collaborate by providing effective visual merchandising efforts to capture consumer interest, attraction, and to create impulse buying. Some surveys was conducted and it shows that a large percentage of consumers do not prepare shopping lists and they tend to make unplanned or spontaneous purchase. This behavior indicates that the value of in-store display, well-organized stores, and store layout attract consumers to purchase. Consumers like to buy or to shop in person, and sometimes they want to touch, to smell, and to try on the products. Visual merchandising, also known as silent salesman, so it is part of push strategy, forcing the product through marketing channels to attract, encourage, and motivate consumers towards making a purchase. Therefore, retailers should find ways to influence consumers to purchase product and revisit the outlets. This is one of the newspaper articles from the Star. It shows that Giant Hypermarket do the refurbishment of the store layout to ensure store environments is convenient for the shoppers. So this is why visual merchandising is very important to the hypermarket retailers. Past studies has been done on visual merchandising. However, they focus on the visual merchandising practices in Western countries. Practitioners in Asia cannot utilize some of those visual merchandising methodologies from the Western countries. Therefore, they need to modify and adapt to the different cultural and lifestyles of Eastern consumers. No study has been conducted or no study has been found to evaluate the collaboration of visual merchandising efforts made by retailers and product manufacturers. And it is very crucial, particularly in Asia, as it may contribute to the knowledge of both practitioners and academic researchers. In fact, little studies has been conducted to study how this visual merchandising influence consumer behavior in hypermarket, specifically for fast-moving consumer goods in Malaysia. This study will contribute to the literature and extend the limited knowledge of how important visual merchandising is to influence consumer buying behavior at hypermarkets. The objective of the study. First one is to explore the visual merchandising practices and its dimension, particularly for fast-moving consumer goods in hypermarkets. Secondly, to examine the visual merchandising dimension that contributed and practiced by retailers and product manufacturers, which may influence consumer buying behavior in hypermarkets. Various studies have been conducted on visual merchandising from different industries. However, there are still lack of study on fast-moving consumer goods and hypermarket retailers. By definition, visual merchandising is the design of all the things customers see both inside and outside the store. Other than that, visual merchandising is the artistic display of merchandise and theatrical props used as scene-setting decoration in the store. A case study was conducted in Asfahan, Iran hypermarkets that found there are 6 elements of visual merchandising, which are store layout, store design, lighting, color, cleanliness, and height of shelves that are significant to influence consumer buying decisions. Why hypermarket? Because consumers prefer to go to modern retail format to buy groceries. So this modern retail format includes supermarkets, hypermarkets, and convenience stores. This modern retail format offers one-stop shopping with self-service store concept. And in the past, modern hypermarket and supermarkets are built in the larger cities in the major urban areas. But nowadays, this large format store in Malaysia can also be found in small towns in rural areas. This is due to high demand from the customers, increased number of population, and the maturity stage of hypermarket in the product life cycles. A study from Kochigan and Carib 2012, there are 6 important elements that influence the consumer's purchase intention. They are store layout, store design, color, lighting, cleanliness, and height of shelves. As this research is an exploratory study, therefore observation has been done in selected hypermarket to understand the store environment, the facilities provided by the retailers and manufacturers, and also to understand the visual merchandising activities that are carried out by the sales promoter and visual merchandisers. On top of that, interviews was also conducted. The interview was conducted to 6 respondents. They are all hypermarket retailers and from FMCG manufacturers, and all of them have more than 5 years working experience. From the interviews, the finding shows that these are the 6 elements of visual merchandising managed by the hypermarket retailers: store layout, store display, color, lighting, cleanliness, and height of shelves. But on top of that, There are another 4 new elements that are practiced or being supported by product manufacturers, which are POS, display materials, point of purchase, display, and in-store digital media, as well as product packaging. 4 from 6 participants agreed that visual merchandising lead to impulse buying. However, the other 2 participants disagree that visual merchandising will influence consumer impulse buying in the store, as the consumer are well planned and have their shopping list together with them. All the respondents highlighted that additional tools like point of sales materials, point of sales display, in-store digital media devices, and product packaging are being practiced and act as an important tools in hypermarket in order to influence consumer buying behavior. As a conclusion, visual merchandising design and tools must be effective for consumers to stay longer in the store, for them to browse the product, and for them to make purchase from the store. And from this study, a conceptual study of visual merchandising and framework could be developed in the next research to link the visual merchandising dimension that acts as a stimulus for practitioners and consumer buying behavior. And all these visual merchandising tools can be used by both hypermarket retailers and product manufacturers to communicate with different types of target consumers. The collaboration between manufacturers and the retailers is seen to be very important for them to minimize or to cut down the cost of visual merchandising and to avoid duplication of their effort. However, in these studies, there are some limitations due to geographical limitation, where selected FMCG product manufacturers and hypermarket retailers are being chosen in Klang Valley and Johor area, and the number of respondents are also limited. For future research recommendation, perhaps the researcher can have more larger sample size of respondents and to collect the responses from consumers in the hypermarkets through quantitative study in order to know the consumer's perception and the actual effects of visual merchandising dimension on the consumer buying behaviors. For that, I thank you. Stay safe, kita jaga kita. Thank you.